Welcome to the On Your Mind podcast, where we are changing the mental health narrative, bringing hope and solutions. Here's your host, Timothy J. Hayes, psychologist.
Marcella Pixley is the author of 4 acclaimed books for children that all explore complex family dynamics and mental health issues. Well, Marcy, thank you so much for joining us. It's delightful to see you again.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to talk about this new book of 2015, the Neshama book.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you for holding up. That's just delightful. I was thrilled to finish it and started talking about it on my internet show last week, and 2 different people said, I love that book. So
that's so wonderful. Thank you.
And so this is at least 2, maybe 3 of your books I've read now. One of them was Trowbridge Road, and now this one. So enlighten us. Why are you pouring all of this mind energy and intelligence into books like this? What do you want us to be taking from it?
Well, Neshama is a book about a girl who has a very unique talent, which is the ability to talk to ghosts of her ancestors. And this comes with a lot of different challenges for her in her life. One being that nobody believes her. Nobody believes that she's really doing that. And she has to make a decision about whether to keep on following her gifts, even though her gifts aren't recognized by anybody except for her. Well, her grandmother actually thinks it's her poetic spirit, but she's bullied at school. She's making her parents and her teachers very worried. And it's really a book about making a decision about whether to follow your best self, your passionate self, or whether to conform so that you fit what society expects of you, which is something that we all deal with, especially kids who are Anna's age. And so I am trying to write books about people who are making the decision about whether or not to live their life bravely and authentically. And so I think that's what Neshama is about. And I feel like that is really crucial for young readers, especially, to have books in the world that give them permission to be completely themselves, whatever that may be.
Yeah, that's clearly a theme from the Trowbridge Road to this book, this idea of living bravely.
Yes, living bravely, absolutely. You know what? Would you mind if I took this book and put it over there where Trowbridge Road is right now? Just
go right ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, the delight, as I mentioned when I talk about this from your writing, is your character development and this, what I would consider a wisdom about our lives and our relationships. And while there are a lot of us that don't fit the cookie cutter mold through high school and grade school, and you write about it so poignantly that there are times in the reading where I just put the book down and take a breath and calm myself down, because it stirs up stuff of the awkwardness of those years and from my awareness of how basically unhealthy our culture is in trying to round off the edges, right, or stomp out any dissimilarities.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been an 8th grade teacher for 25 years now, or a little bit more probably. And I'm drawn to the Spiky students. Like, I'm drawn to the kids who are not what society expects or sometimes adores. And my goal as a teacher, as a professional, is to make my space into a space where those people can be entirely who they are. I think that the parts of us that aren't rounded out, as you say, are the most beautiful parts of humanity. These are the parts of people that make this world, which is such a broken place, into a place that's worth living. It's those differences that make us gorgeous. So I agree with you entirely.
So as you gave the intro, you said that Neshama is able to talk with the ghosts of her ancestors. But yeah. I read it, talk to her. They don't have to be her ancestors.
Right. They don't have to be her ancestors. Every ghost, you're right, that she has the ability to call to her any ghosts that sort of happen to be in the space where she is. And I try to give an idea of different kinds of ghosts that exist in this book. Like there are ghosts that come from the spaces that she inhabits. There are ghosts that come from her family's past. And she even is able to eventually communicate with the ghosts of her tormentors and helps her to understand where her tormentors are coming from and why they behave the way that they do. Right now, I'm sitting in the house where the book takes place, and which is a summer house in Gloucester that I've been lucky to be able to be in since childhood. And we've always imagined that there are ghosts here. So that was one of the inspirations for this book.
Well, and, as I mention to people, whether I'm reading Ursula K. Le Guin or I'm reading your books, I'm always drawn to people who can talk about life and relationships intelligently or accurately. And so that there's a series of insights woven through the story. It's like there's meat on the bones, so to speak. It's not just an empty little story. It's all about, in this particular book, it's about, I love the idea of staying close to who you are as a person, as a personality, what your values and morals are, even when people want to encourage you to go in a different direction, or it seems like it might be easier to go in a different direction.
Yeah, especially when.
Yeah, doing the right
thing. What would
thing.
the world be if we didn't have people who knew how to do that?
Yeah, a bigger mess. A different kind of mess. A different kind of creative chaos. Yeah. So do you have you launched a big promotion tour for the book?
I have. It's just starting to trickle out. The book came out in May 15th, May 13th. And so I've done a lot of readings at libraries and bookstores and at my school. And there's some more coming up this September. And the book came out right as school was ending. So I'd say we kind of stopped for, students are out on summer break now, but we'll pick up again in the fall.
And what age range are you targeting with this book?
Well, the book is middle grade. And so the sweet spot for middle grade is ages 9 through 14. So that's kind of a large range. But what's wonderful about middle grade literature is that it is widely read by young adults as well. And I think that this book is going to be poignant for adults too. So,
yeah, it certainly was for me. As I mentioned, I just, I do a lot of work with people when they're trying to manage their tense, tight, angry, fearful, what we might categorize as the negative emotions. And what we discover most often is that the patterns for that and the way to interpret the world and respond to the world that give rise to those negative emotional states were downloaded in the grade school and middle school years. And so a lot of people realize they're not an adult living their life. They're an angry tween or a scared 8th grader that's making their life decisions today.
Yeah, we carry those scars with us, and I think that we also carry the scars of generations before us, and so the idea of ghosts and making a decision about whether you hold on to those ghosts or set them free is something that is psychologically important for all of us, and that's part of what Anna is grappling with in Neshama, when this one particular ghost, Ruthie, who's I won't give too much of it away, but who's a family member.
Like an aunt or something?
An aunt, yes. Asks permission to inhabit Anna to take care of some unfinished business, to confront her own tormentor. And Anna yearns to help heal the wounds of her family through helping Ruthie, but it becomes a burden that she needs to make a decision about whether it's actually healthy for her to carry.
Right.
And she has to learn how to make her own way and heal some of those wounds and maybe let Ruthie go in the end. So I see this being a book that has to do with trauma and how people need bravery to come to peace so that they can make and forge their own path. And that doesn't mean forgiveness. And so I think it's a book about forgiveness, but I see forgiveness as not meaning that you have to think that the people who have wounded you, it's not saying that those things are okay. It's not saying that those things aren't horrible and didn't harm you, but somehow facing them, forgiving yourself, and allowing them in some way to not hold you back. And so the ghosts are literally the manifestations of things that have happened that need to be forgiven and let pass.
Well, and when you talk about that, and you talk about the problems or the sins or the traumas of our ancestors get passed down to us, the good news is so do all of the skills and creativity and perseverance and strength. And so, that's one of the things that I got from both of the books of yours that I've read, is this willingness to say, hey, look, it isn't all nice and clean and neat, but there's a lot of good stuff in here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that Ruthie gives to Anna in Neshama is that Ruthie has this wild bravery. I mean, she is fearless. And during the time that Anna has Ruthie inhabiting her, she's able to take some of that fearlessness also. And that's something that she had never experienced before. She has to learn to find her own bravery that is not just the inherited bravery from Ruthie. But those difficult things that happen in our past are sometimes blessings for us as well.
Well, and when you get the main character, is that Anna?
Yes, Anna.
Neshama.
And her grandmother calls her Shana, says that she has a Shana Neshama. That means in Yiddish that she has a beautiful soul. And so that's why the title of the book is Neshama.
And what she does as a person is this tenacious clinging to the truth that she knows, this truth of her ability to see and communicate with souls, spirits, entities, ghosts, whatever you want to call it. And it's that incredible tenacity and refusal to give up what she knows to be true that is got to be one of those cross-generational strengths that she has inherited, right? And how you write it in the book that she uses it to eventually, I'll just use the word help somebody who wasn't so kind to her, right? So instead of being pulled out of my true nature as this gentle, loving soul by the bullies who keep abusing me, and pretty soon I want to abuse them. Instead of that, I hold on to my gentle, loving self and extend that in the relationship with the bullies eventually.
Yeah. I mean, that is really one of Anna's strengths, that she's able to empathize with the reasons why the people who are cruel are being that way. And that happens a number of times in the book. It happens probably most powerfully with this neighbor, Jeremy, who lives down the hill in her grandmother's neighborhood in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And Jeremy is a character who behaved with anti-Semitism towards her family and towards her aunt. And her grandmother hates him for it. And you can understand despising cruelty that has harmed you and harmed your family. That makes a lot of sense. And anybody who feels that kind of anger towards people who have harmed them, you can understand why that might be. But what's more difficult, and what is something that Anna is able to do, is to understand the pain that another person might be going through that might cause them to behave in harmful ways. And for some reason, Anna is able to see all of who Jeremy is, which includes his own abuse as a child and his own neglect as a child, and his own fascination, these Jewish neighbors that he has, and his desire to connect with them, but not knowing how. So her ability to see that in Jeremy ultimately becomes one of the ways that she heals in her family something that was very, very painful for them. And another time that Anna does this is with the character Eden, who is her bully at school. And because Anna is able to see ghosts, she is able to understand that Eden's bullying of Anna comes from some
Eden's traumas and losses.
Eden's traumas, exactly. And what kind of wonderful world would this be if we were able to understand that that when people are hurting and when people are carrying wounds, they behave in ways towards each other that are harmful. If we're able to look at each other's behavior through empathy, then we can start to understand why people do what they do.
Yeah, there's a quote, I forget which author, but the quote about how if we could but see the hidden pain of our enemies, it would be enough to dismantle all hostilities.
Yeah, and now more than ever, how wonderful would it be if we could do that? There's hundreds of places in the world where we need that kind of understanding in order to find peace.
Yeah, and the strength to go ahead and do the next right thing, even though it's the hardest thing on the list of possibilities in front of me. Right? I have to be willing to do what's right, even when it's the toughest thing on the list. And certainly turning that other cheek or that gentle smile to your bully when he or she is feeling down is not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. And when somebody harms you, it's very difficult to want to do something like that.
So why would anybody do something like that? What got into this young woman?
What is it about Anna that allows her to know that?
Yeah, how do you do the hardest thing just because it's the right thing when so many other easier things are begging for your attention, or even there are people pushing you?
I think it's her ability to connect with the ghosts that allows her to know that that we all have hurts that linger and pull at us. That she walks through the world with the voices of these people who are missing their lives and have passed away and are still hurting. That makes her yearn to create a world where that hurt can be let go. Could I read a poem about some of that? Would you be
absolutely
happy? Okay. It might take me a while to find. Give me just a sec. And I have a book that doesn't have my usual bookmarks.
When you were saying that earlier, I thought what you're saying is basically her being able to see the ghosts is a metaphor for her being able to see the truth, capital T, truth, and not be dissuaded from it, not be gaslit into thinking she's not perceiving accurately, etc. And because she can see the bigger picture truth, she holds on to that and acts in a way that's in line with her values and priorities rather than getting pulled out of her normal style, her own personality.
Yeah, she has a life where she feels very deeply connected to the spirits and the memories of everyone around her.
Yeah.
So I thought that maybe I could read some of the poems that have to do with connection.
Please.
And Anna's one of the themes of this book has to do with Anna's connection with her Jewish identity. And I mentioned before that in her family's history, there's this anti-Semitic incident that has broken her family open and has made wounds for her father in his grief and her grandmother in her grief, and has made it so that Anna herself has been raised knowing that she's Jewish, but not knowing anything about Judaism and not being able to feel the connection to Judaism that she really desires. And so she ends up going to her grandmother's house in Gloucester, which is where I'm sitting right now, to celebrate Shabbat every Friday for a few different weekends. And it's there in that house that she's able to finally learn about who she is and embrace her Jewishness in a way that she wasn't able to because her family has turned away from it. And so I thought that I would read some of these poems about Anna's Jewish identity because they help to illustrate Anna's sense of connection with generations and with the people that came before her. So I'll read a few of those if that's okay.
Please.
And then I also wanted to make sure that the listeners who are watching this video know that Neshama is a novel in verse. And so it's written as these, it's written in poem form. And so each of the chapters are really short poems that move the story forward. Okay, so the soup pot. Bubby lifts the lid and lets the steam rise into the kitchen. This battered soup pot, dented from its journey from an apartment in Brooklyn to Bubby's old kitchen in Gloucester, Massachusetts, where I stand transfixed watching the broth bubble. Bubby gives me a sip. When you taste my soup, close your eyes, she says. Imagine my mama, her hair covered with a kerchief, stirring Shabbos with a wooden spoon, one generation sipping the broth of the one that came before. Blessing. When she strikes the match, circles her hands above the flickering glow, and covers her eyes to whisper the Shabbos prayer, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. The real blessing is that the prayer has lasted so many years, like the spiderweb thread of this white lace woven with silk that is at once incredibly fragile and as strong as a story told over and over from a mother's mouth to a daughter's ear, one generation after another. Lined up behind her, I can see the endless thread of mothers and grandmothers, each with a soft hand resting on the shoulder of the one that came before. And I'll read one more.
Okay.
Okay, Kiddush cup. In the center of the table, there is a tarnished cup filled with wine, a promise that even if the story is sad, there is sweetness in the way. One generation takes a sip and then passes the cup to the next, empty hands waiting so we may drink it to the dregs.
Wonderful. Yeah, I really enjoyed the fact that it was written in verse, and for me, and whatever my brain processing style is, I was able to read it more quickly and smoothly. And there were several that I would back up and read and reread to let the poetry sink in.
That was my hope. I'm glad that you had that experience, because I want each of those poems to be, first of all, for them to be palatable on their own, so that you can sit and sort of savor one of them, kind of like suck on the meat of it for a little while. But also for the experience of the turning of pages to drive the story forward, and for the space between each poem to be meaningful. Like each poem describes a tiny moment, some of them that happen very close together. So some of the poems have to do with different details in a single moment. But I wanted that experience of the reader to be able to kind of move through what Anna was moving through, or to stop and savor.
Well, it seemed to work very well for the way that I picked it up and the way my brain was processing it. I was just, I'm a little bit distracted. I keep thinking of, did you know about Andrea Gibson?
You know what? I'm so glad you mentioned her, because I was just this morning listening to that beautiful, beautiful poem that she wrote for her wife about death. And it was so resonant to me for what Neshama is about, that I was actually wishing that I had written it down so that I could read it on this podcast, because it's incredibly connecting to what this book is about.
Yeah, she was, they, I mean, she preferred a different pronoun, but they were very, very powerfully, I'll say magical in the way they could bring a sensation of life into the realm of letters and words and the spoken word pieces. And I guess I should mention that she passed away yesterday. They passed away yesterday, so that the mentioning this is on the occasion of her dropping the body, and yet they have done a tremendous job over the years of helping us take a perspective, different perspectives on what it is. She has the one, probably the piece I've read most often is, "For the days I stopped wanting a body," right? What if the soul misses every ache and pain, right? Every little blister on a hand, every little splinter under a nail. And poets like Andrea and David White and Rilke have really enriched my life. And I thought I would mention her before we wrap up today.
Yeah, thank you. Their poetry has been really resonant for me, and it couldn't be more appropriate for the conversation we're having. And I've just become aware of the poem about death that is everywhere this morning, the day after their death. And I don't have the lines memorized in my mind because I'm just becoming acquainted with that poem. There's one line that is something like, well, the idea is that you think that the person who's passed away is so far away that you can't see them.
Right.
And
they've never been closer.
The line is I'm so close that you look past me when you're looking for me. And it's what a beautiful, beautiful line. You don't happen to have the poem right there, do you? I'm
trying to see if I can pick it up here real quick.
And then I have a poem that I feel like is almost an answer to that. And that beautiful image of them reading that poem out loud to their beloved is just, I think, something that's going to stay on this earth for a long time. But what a wonderful legacy to leave.
Well, there are many wonderful pieces from their body of work.
And I'm looking for one. Maybe we'll see which one of us.
Love Letter from the Afterlife.
Yeah, Letter from the Afterlife. Would you read some of that?
They write, "My love, I was so wrong. Dying is the opposite of leaving. When I left my body, I did not go away. That portal of light was not a portal to elsewhere, but a portal to here. I am more here than I ever was before. I am more with you than I ever could have imagined. So close, you look past me when wondering where I am. It's okay. I know that to be human is to be far-sighted. Yet feel me now, walking the chambers of your heart, pressing my palms to the soft walls of your living. Why did no one tell us that to die is to be reincarnated in those we love while they are still alive? Ask me the altitude of heaven and I will answer, how tall are you? In my back pocket is a love note, every word you wish you'd said. At night, I sit ecstatic in the loom weaving forgiveness, at the loom, weaving forgiveness into your worldly regrets. All day I listen to the radio of your memories. Yes, I know every secret you thought too dark to tell me, and love you more for everything you feared might make me love you less. When you cry, I guide your tears toward the garden of kisses I once planted on your cheek, so you know they're all perennial. Forgive me for not being able to weep with you. One day you will understand. One day you will know why I read the poetry of your grief to those waiting to be born, and they're all the more excited. There's nothing I want for now that we are so close. I open the curtain of your eyelids with my own smile every morning. I wish you could see the beauty your spirit is right now, making of your pain, your deep-seated fears playing musical chairs, laughing about how real they are not. My love, I want to sing it through the rafters of your bones. Dying is the opposite of leaving. I want to echo it through the corridor of your temples. I am more with you than I ever was before. Do you understand? It was me who beckoned the stranger who caught you in her arms when you forgot not to order for two at the coffee shop. It was me who was up all night gathering sunflowers into your chest the last day you feared would never again wake up feeling lighthearted. I know it's hard to believe, but I promise it's the truth. I promise one day you will say it too. I can't believe I ever thought I could lose you. Yeah, thanks for the indulgence.
I think that this is a good morning to read that poem after the day after their death. And what a gift that poem is to the world today.
Agreed.
Here's some poems from Neshama that have to do with that give similar messages. Perhaps the people that we love don't actually go away and are with us. So here's some poems from Neshama that sort of speak to that same idea. Dance macabre. Just because we have no legs does not mean we have forgotten how to dance. If you look out the window, you might see us shimmering when new moonlight just after rain glances against the memories of our bodies. You might have thought we were spider webs, translucent as moths, the impossible silk of dandelion clocks. Maybe then you would notice how fragile and how fine it is to be alive. Ancestors, we hear you when you speak to us. We see you moving through rooms and generations. When you ask for a sign, we always give it, even though sometimes it is just the wind through an open window, a flock of starlings startled from bare branches, rising like leaves set free on the wind. Yeah, I think that I'll stop there.
Beautiful.
So I think that that the wisdom comes in knowing how deeply we desire and yearn to remain connected to memory, to the people who have passed on, but also the importance of forging our own paths and finding ways to remain connected, but also to be free to live our life and to heal.
Yeah, as you say that, it brings to mind one of Guy Finley's talks. He says, I'll give you a definition for wisdom. Wisdom is the gradual erosion, every little belief that you're separate from anyone or anything.
And that's where empathy comes from.
Awakening to the moment more fully and being so aware that we start to tune into all of these other energies and ways we're connected and the synchronicities that are always there for us to see, but we can't really see them if we're focused myopically on our anger or frustration. We can't see how the whole of life is expanding in this wonderfully creative way.
Still, despite all the brokenness, that's crucial for us to remember.
Yeah, there's the line from the City of Angels movie where the angel has to admonish the doctor, there's a lot more going on here than you know about. The doctor thinks, this wasn't supposed to happen. And the angel says, yeah, but there's a lot more going on here than you understand. And that is ever thus with us as long as we're in the body. And it's so deep and rich, we can get caught up in it and believe it's all there is. The message that comes across through Neshama and through Andrea's work that it's certainly not all there is to us.
And you can start early in understanding that. And so that's the beauty of middle grade books, because they reach young readers in a way that starts to wake them up to things that are really important. And I love young adult literature and I love adult literature, but there's something very beautiful about middle grade because it often carries some of the deep themes that are resonant through an entire lifetime, but brings them to a place where a child who's just becoming complex in their understanding of the world can begin to digest. So I love that space in literature and that ability to make really difficult ideas accessible for some of our youngest readers.
Yeah, you said accessible. My mind was offering up palatable, right?
I was thinking palatable.
It is this. It's not just accessible. It's actually something that's desirable. The way you write about it, the storytelling, beautiful. It's masterful, and it draws people in. And I'm grateful that books with messages like this are targeting this younger age range. It's delightful.
Thank you. I use this book and other novels in verse this year in my classroom to inspire students to write their own stories in verse about their own identities. And we talked about how these books that we've been studying in my classroom are celebrations of the complexity of our multiple identities and how, as human beings, we often struggle to express all of the different, beautiful, strange, and unexpected parts of who we are. And so students choose an aspect of themselves that they think is interesting, or an aspect of being human that they think is interesting, and then they create a fictional character where where their fictional character is struggling with whatever that aspect of identity is. and I had them write 5 poems, show that character struggling with the aspect, and then they can decide whether they eventually find bravery in expressing it, or they can decide how they want this character to turn out. But this kind of literature, middle grade literature, novels in verse particularly, I think offer a model for readers to try to do the same thing themselves and to try to create their own stories, to articulate their own stories of struggle and of healing. And the students wrote some remarkable, beautiful poetry.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, if people want to reach out to you, how do you prefer they connect with you?
Oh, I love it. I would love for people to reach out to me. So they can do it through different social media platforms. I'm on Facebook quite a lot. And so friend me on Facebook, Marcella Pixley, and I will accept the friend request. And Instagram and Blue Sky are all good ways. Or email me at marcellapixley@yahoo.com. And I would love to talk to anybody out there who's interested in publishing a book, who's interested in writing about their own identities, who's interested in what it means to write a book with Jewish themes right now in the world, and any other reason as well. So yes, please connect.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the work you're doing and for being willing to talk to us about it today. And I'll keep my eyes peeled for the next book because I have a feeling there will be some others.
Yes, actually, can I tell you?
Sure.
What it is? It's on sort of in the same vein as some of the stuff we've been talking about. So the next book is a picture book called A Sip of Sunrise. I think that's what it's going to be called. We're sort of in the middle of negotiating the title. But it's a picture book about based on my grandfather's immigration story from Poland to America, and a very special soup pot that has been important in my family, that has been passed from generation to generation.
Wonderful.
So look for it in 2026. And there's and hopefully there's another novel around the corner as well.
I look forward to them all. And thank you so much for taking time to share with us. And
thank you so much.
I wish you continued success.
I really appreciate the chance to share with the community this way. So thanks for offering that to me.
It's all right. It's our honor. Thank you. Marcella Pixley is the author of 4 acclaimed books for children that all explore complex family dynamics and mental health issues. Her first book, Freak, was published in 2007. It was a Kirkus Best Book of the Year. Her second book was Without Tess, published in 2011. It was a Junior Library Guild selection. Her book, Ready to Fall, was published in 2017. It was a Bank Street Best Book of the Year. Her most recent novel, Trowbridge Road, was published in 2020, and it was longlisted for the National Book Award and was named a Best Book of 2020 by Shelf Awareness, Junior Library Guild, Amazon, Reading Group Choices, and Kansas NEA. Marcella teaches 8th grade language arts in Carlisle, Massachusetts.
You've been listening to the On Your Mind podcast, offered by Journey's Dream, where we support people through mental health challenges to a place of true and lasting well-being. If you love our show, we invite you to visit onyourmindpodcast.org to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our helpful resources. Thank you for listening.